YouTube, my name is Xenocloud, and welcome to Tier List Tuesday, the show where every Tuesday we make a top 5 list. I got you. See, no, actually we make a tier list, and in today's tier list we're going to be making a Family Guy character tier list. We've got all the most important characters right here, and we're going to be ranking them in about 5 categories. We've got number 1, carrying the show. If you're in this category, you're hilarious, you're in like every episode, people care about you, people want to see what you're doing next, whole episodes are dedicated to you. If you're in the next category, funny / important, you're pretty funny, you're pretty important to the show, not quite getting episodes dedicated to you, but you're still pretty funny, you know, you're giving us good laughs. If you're in haha / alright, you're like, you know, you're pretty inconsistent with the jokes, sometimes we laugh, sometimes we don't, you know, you're pretty alright, we like you, but we don't really like you. Next, we've got meh / unimportant. If you're in this category, you're just kind of like, meh, you know, just meh. That's all I can really say about that category, and you know, you're just not important to the show, not that important. If you're in boring / uninteresting, in a show that's all about making jokes, mocking America, and just being completely satirical of everything, you're pretty boring. Like, you're not a good character. Honestly, if you're in this category, the show will probably be better off without you. So let's go ahead and get straight into this, guys. First up, we got my man, Mayor Adam West. And this man is going straight in the funny / important. He is the mayor of Quahog, after all. He is pretty funny. I really like some of his jokes. He's very random. And I feel like Family Guy is so focused on making like straight up satirical jokes a lot of the time. Mayor Adam West kind of comes out of nowhere and just brings us some random humor, you know? I've seen this man do all sorts of weird ass stuff. Like, literally he comes out of nowhere and just does something random. One time he picked up a rat off the street who had $1 and gave him a lift and then robbed the rat. Like, what? That's the mayor. Next up we got Angela, and God, she is just not that interesting. Is she even important? She plays a good role of being, you know, the boss that nobody wants to get at the brewery for Peter. But is she really even a meh character, or is she just straight up boring? I feel like she's just straight up boring, to be completely honest with you. I'm gonna put her in boring. She is slightly important to the show, I have to say. Most of you could probably argue that she is even important, like up here, you know, but she's not funny. She's alright, I guess, in some aspects, but most of the time she's just simply uninteresting. Next up we got Bertram, and you know, he's kind of a meh character as well. He comes out of nowhere, you know, maybe like once or twice. I think there's been 2 episodes with him. I'm not quite sure. But Bertram, he's a decent character. It's just we don't see enough of him. Honestly, I could even put him in the boring / uninteresting. But when we do see Bertram, he's not boring. He's fighting with Stewie, so he's kind of interesting, you know? It's kind of hard to say. I would put him in meh / unimportant, to be honest with you. Next up, we have Bonnie Swanson, and she definitely is not getting carrying the show. She's not getting funny / important. The only jokes she makes are about killing handicapped people. Let's be real. I would honestly kind of put her maybe in haha / alright. She's an alright character. She's not quite the haha. She doesn't make me laugh very much. She's like, meh. You know, if there was a category in between these two, she would definitely be in it. But to be honest, I think she doesn't make the cut for haha / alright. I think she goes down here in unimportant. She's just not that interesting and really not that important to the show. She tried to leave Joe countless times. So if she did end up leaving one day, who would miss her, honestly? Next up, we got Brian Griffin, and you already know this man's going up in the carrying the show. This is Seth MacFarlane expressing himself directly to us. He doesn't change the voice. You know, he models Brian after himself quite a bit. He's talked about this quite a bit before. He is one of the most important characters in the show by far. There are tons of episodes dedicated to Brian. He's definitely a funny character too. He comes up with some funny stuff. He's definitely a douchebag, which I love that about him, you know. He's our fun little dog douchebag, treating women badly, and he's a drunk, you know. He's definitely going up and carrying the show. He's one of the people in the house. He's very important. Next up, we got Bruce, and to be honest with you, I'd put him in haha / alright right away without even thinking, because he is another one of those characters that kind of pops up out of nowhere. He's kind of like Mayor Adam West, just not as funny, you know. He's that homosexual coming in with the homosexual jokes. Jeffrey, you know, like, he's pretty funny. I would put him in haha / alright. I think he's an alright character. He's not quite unimportant, but he's not quite important either, so I think he belongs right here. He's cozy and haha / alright. Next up, we got Carl, and this is another haha / alright character. I would put him above Bruce though, mainly because he is the Bob's, I cannot get this, mainly because he is the Bob's Burgers actor as well, which I just love that. I love hearing his voice. He's got a great comedic voice, so sarcastic and monotone that you just gotta love it. He could even be considered funny / important, but he's not quite an important character, so I would put him in haha / alright, to be honest. Next up, we got Carter Pewterschmidt, and this is a really tough one for me because honestly, I could go from funny important to haha alright to even meh / unimportant, and honestly, it's really tough. The thing is about Carter is like some episodes he's a good character, there's good like character development, he's Lois's dad. Other times he's just unimportant and uninteresting. He's just the rich guy, I would say there's enough evidence to put him in funny / important, but I wouldn't quite put him above Mayor Adam West. Seth MacFarlane uses Carter Pewterschmidt to kind of like criticize the rich and their views and stuff like that, which I really like about that. It brings an interesting perspective to the show, and he's also Lois's dad, so I think he deserves funny / important. I would say he's not as funny as Carl, but he is more important, if that makes sense. Next up, we got Chris Griffin, and to be honest, I'm not really a huge fan of Chris. He's important, he's Lois's kid and Peter's kid, he's part of the family. It's really tough, to be honest. He's not really that funny. There's sometimes when he's funny, but honestly, he's basically Peter, but dumber, and a kid version. And they even criticize his cutaways because they're so uninteresting. Oh man, it's so tough. Honestly, if I were to be honest with you guys, I want to put him here above Carl simply because he's more important, but he's not funnier than Carl. But he's not quite important. I know it seems crazy to put him below Carter and Mayor Adam West, but honestly, Chris Griffin, not that interesting of a character. Sometimes he gets me with a couple laughs, and he's a weirdo, but I'd honestly put him in haha / alright, to be honest. Sometimes you get whole episodes dedicated to him, just not very often. And even like the family themselves have criticized his humor. So Cleveland Jr., and a lot of you are going to be mad about this because I just put Chris down here, but Cleveland is going in funny / important because Cleveland Jr. actually has some funny jokes every once in a while. He's kind of like Chris on the Cleveland show. He's basically Chris, he's not that funny. He is a little bit funny, to be honest with you guys. I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen any episodes with him in it, to be honest with you guys. But from what I remember about Cleveland Jr., he is kind of funny / important. Maybe not so much important, but definitely funny. Nah, I think I gotta put him above Chris, to be honest. I think he's not quite important enough to be in that category. Next up, we got Cleveland Brown, and I'll be honest with you guys, this is one of my favorite characters because he's another one of those characters with that hilarious monotone voice. I'm Cleveland. I cannot do his voice, but I don't know if I want to put him in carrying the show, but I would definitely put him at the top of funny / important. He's definitely funnier than Mayor Adam West and Carter Pewterschmidt, and Cleveland is, I think he's definitely important. Next up is Consuela, and I would put her down in the group with the haha / alright characters because, to be honest with you guys, the no, it gets kind of boring sometimes, Sometimes I hear it and I'm thinking, no, not again, So I think she's going below Bruce. She's pretty funny, but ultimately not super important. She's not really even alright of a character in the show. She's not unimportant, I guess. She is kind of unimportant, to be honest. But I think because, she's got a popular joke, the no, everybody loves the no. I think she goes in haha / alright. Sometimes she's funny, sometimes she's not. Next up, we got Diane Simmons. And to be honest with you guys, this is another character that does not capture my attention. I think she's always been boring / uninteresting. Honestly, less interesting than Angela, because at least we've had some good character development with Angela, whereas Diane Simmons, she was just Tom Tucker's sidekick for the longest time until she was killed in season 9. And even then, there wasn't much character development in that episode. She was just a crazed maniac. And she told us a little bit about what was going on in her personal life, like behind the scenes of the show. It wasn't very interesting. I didn't really care for her ever at one point, so I think she goes in boring / uninteresting. Next up, we got Donna Brown, and to be honest with you guys, if we're talking about Family Guy, she's quite boring / uninteresting as well. And that is simply because we haven't really seen much of her, If we were doing the Cleveland show, she'd be up here, she would be somewhere up here. But to be honest, she's just not that interesting. Maybe she could be meh / unimportant, but she's not really funny enough for even that, in my opinion. I personally think I'll have to put her down here above Angela and Diane, though. Next up, we got Dr. Hartman, and this is another one of those characters that's just kind of funny, you know. He gets some laughs out of us, I think, you know. Mocking the doctors of the U.S. like this is a good thing. Seth MacFarlane did a really good job with this character. You know, he's talking about, I got to go to medical school, and he's already a doctor. You know, it's pretty funny. I think he's probably funnier than Chris Griffin, maybe even Cleveland. I don't know about Cleveland Jr. That's tough. I think I'll have to put him behind Cleveland Jr. He's pretty funny, funnier than Chris for sure, just not quite as funny as Cleveland Jr. Next up, we have the Chicken, and I'll be honest with you guys, I'm a huge Chicken Fight fan. I'm sure all of you are too. Unfortunately, he can't go up here because he's not important enough. So he's another one of those all-right characters, but he is one of my favorites personally, and I think he's one of the funniest for sure. And he is going to lead this category. It is left to right, you know, in order. So Cleveland is, you know, higher up than Mayor Adam West in this category. So it is like that. I just want to let you guys know that. Next up is Jesus Christ, and to be honest, he's an alright character. Seth MacFarlane uses him pretty good to like mock religion, and I think he's a good character in that respect. But other than that, he's not even really that important. I think he goes right here behind Bertram. Not very, maybe even uninteresting, but we've had a lot of character development with this, and I feel like it's raised a good few questions whenever Seth has used this character, Jesus Christ. So I think he goes in meh/unimportant. Next up, we got Herbert the Pervert, and we all know this man is a hilarious Family Guy character. He is definitely funny. I don't know if I'm gonna quite put him up here. I think he's funnier than, yeah, honestly, I think he's probably funnier than the Chicken. I think he's a pretty funny character, and you know, he saved Chris, so there's that. So he's definitely important, you know, he saved Chris's life. I think he's haha/alright for sure. Next up is Horus, and this is really tough because he's been dead for so long in the show. You know, he was a pretty important character when he was alive. Was he that interesting though? Not really. We didn't never ever have any character development with Horus. He was just always that angry Irish bartender, which, you know, I loved Horus. He was good, you know, I enjoyed seeing him. He just was not interesting, and he was kind of boring. So I feel like he even belongs below Diane Simmons, to be honest with you guys. Next up, we got James Woods, and this is probably going to be a shocker for you guys. I am just not a huge James Wood fan at all in the show. He never really interested me that much, and to be honest with you guys, he's probably only right here. He's not even as interesting as Bonnie. I enjoy seeing Bonnie more in the show than I do James Woods. His character was just never interesting. He was always such a douchebag, always treated everybody around him like a jerk, and I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of him, you know. He was portrayed very well in the show as a Hollywood douchebag. You know, Seth MacFarlane did a very good job at doing that. Just not that interesting overall. Next up, we got my man Jerome, the new bartender in The Clam, and I think he's definitely an haha/alright character. Where will he go though? Honestly, I think he's not quite up here, you know. Jerome is an alright character for sure. I wouldn't even put him above Carl, to be honest with you guys. Probably right here. I enjoy him a little bit more than I do Bruce, but not that interesting overall. But he gets a few laughs out of us, you know. We've had character development with Jerome before, plenty of character development, so I feel like he belongs right about here. Just not quite as interesting as Carl or Chris or even Dr. Hartman, but a little bit more interesting than Bruce. Next up, we got Jillian, one of Brian Griffin's ex-girlfriends, and this one's a tough one. I enjoyed seeing Jillian. I feel like she was kind of interesting, you know, how bland she was, how very stupid she was. And I think her relationship with Brian was very interesting to watch. How Brian wanted to sort of like use this dumb girl to feed his own ego, if you know what I mean. Would I put her in haha/alright? I don't know. I feel like she's unimportant to the show, but I also feel like she is a little bit important because she was Brian's longest lasting relationship in the show. And for that reason only, I think I'll leave her in here, but she's not getting past Consuela. She's gonna be back here. She's haha/alright. I had a few laughs with Jillian being stupid, you know. She's always asking all these questions, and she was decently important to the show, mainly for Brian. But other than that, ultimately not that funny. Next up, we've got Joe Swanson, and to be honest with you guys, I'm a pretty good fan of Joe. I think he belongs right about here in the funny/important character. Would I put him above Cleveland though? That's really tough because here's the thing. Cleveland had been gone so long, and we saw a lot more of Joe, and we saw Joe develop a lot more than Cleveland. Honestly, he's not carrying the show. He's a guy, he's just Joe up in his wheelchair. You know, I think he's gonna probably be in the funny slash important above Cleveland because we've seen him more than Cleveland. The handicap jokes do get pretty funny sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of some of the handicap jokes. Some of them are kind of sad, not gonna lie. He's a little bit more interesting than Cleveland. I think I'll put him behind Cleveland though, because Cleveland is still funnier than Joe, in my opinion. Cleveland has a lot more better jokes than Joe. Next up is Lois Griffin, and this is a really tough one for me personally because I don't find her funny whatsoever, to be honest with you guys. In fact, she's probably the most annoying character in the show. She serves a good purpose, you know. Somebody has to keep Peter in check, and unfortunately, that's Lois's role in this situation. Would I put her in carrying the show? Not really. Not really, to be honest with you guys. Would I put her in funny slash important? Not because she's funny, but because she's important. And I feel like I have to put her right here because she is that important. Just know I don't think she's funny whatsoever. And if this was based off humor alone, Lois would be bottom tier. Like, absolutely bottom tier. Probably right about here. Honestly, I think Donna's funnier than Lois. Lois is just... I'm not a fan of her at all. I'm sorry. Next up, we have Meg Griffin. And to be honest with you guys, I really enjoy Meg Griffin's stories. I think that she's probably one of the more relatable characters in the show. In some aspects, when she's being gross, not really. But as far as, you know, dealing with like loneliness and, you know, being sad and stuff like that, I feel like that's something we've all gone through. I feel like Meg is an important character. She's not quite up there carrying the show. We've only had maybe like, what, 5 episodes dedicated to Meg alone. I feel like she belongs in this category, probably below Lois. More interesting than Chris, though. And she could probably go right about here. I still think Mayor Adam West is funnier than her. Not quite as important as her, of course, but yeah, I gotta put her right here because of the importance. She's more important than Mayor Adam West, but Mayor Adam West is funnier. Next up, we got Mort Goldman, and he's a pretty decent character. I think he's going, you already know, he's going straight into the haha slash alright character tier, and I think he's gonna have to go probably below Carl. We see a little bit more of Mort than Carl. I think I'd put him in haha slash alright, to be honest. I think he is, you know, I think he's decently up there. He's kind of mid-tier of the average tier, you know? So I think he deserves right about there. He's decently funny. Sometimes his jokes are kind of eh. And all Seth MacFarlane really uses Mort for is just like money grubbing and stuff like that. So kind of an average character in the show. Next up, we've got his son Neil, and I'll be honest with you guys, I am not a fan. He's a creep. I don't like him whatsoever, and I feel like he's going straight into the meh slash unimportant because he's not important to the show, and he's just a meh character. Where will he go though? Above James Woods perhaps? I think above James Woods, but not above Bonnie. Next up, we got my man Ollie Williams. We don't see enough of this man anymore. You know, it's been a while since I've seen Ollie Williams. Unfortunately, he is not quite in a haha slash alright tier, as much as I love Ollie Williams. This man says one-liners every time we see him, so I feel like he's in meh slash unimportant, and he's right below Bonnie. Next up, we've got Opie, and to be honest with you guys, I don't really know what to do with this man other than place him above Horus. He's like the tiniest bit funny, not interesting at all whatsoever, in my opinion. Just a random dude, and I get the joke, you know, he gets put in a higher position than Peter, and he's like that, you know, but he's just not that interesting. Next up, we got Peter Griffin, and you already know he's going into the carrying the show because most of the episodes are dedicated to Peter Griffin. Would I put him above Brian though? That's really tough. If we're thinking about this in terms of jokes, of course, I think Peter Griffin is funnier than Brian. Peter Griffin just always making hilarious jokes. All these flashbacks, all these jobs he's had. He's a very funny character. But the thing is he carrying the show more than Brian? I think he is, because he has more episodes based off of him. I would put Peter Griffin right about here, for sure, above Brian. If it were, I don't know. I think that's deserved, to be honest. Next up, we got my man, Principal Shepard, and to be honest with you guys, he's kind of in the meh slash unimportant category as well. You know, he's not quite up here with these funnier characters. I feel like he maybe goes right about here above Neil, but below Ollie Williams. But to be honest, we've seen Ollie Williams less than Principal Shepard, but Principal Shepard's never really had any good jokes. I feel like he's just always served as a weird principal. He's like an awkward character, you know? So I feel like he goes right about here. Above Neil, though. I'd put him above Neil. Next up, we got my man Quagmire, and you already know this man's going to be in the funny/unimportant tier for sure. Not quite carrying the show. As much as I would love to put some more people up here and carrying the show, I feel like Quagmire really deserves either one of these spots. He's not less funny than Joe, and I feel like we've had just about equal character development between these three friends, but specifically Joe and Quagmire while Cleveland was gone. Would I put him above Cleveland though? I don't know. It's really tough because on one hand, Quagmire can be really funny. On the other hand though, he can be a bit of he can kind of take it too far with the sex sometimes. I don't know what to say about it. He's got all the AIDS disease, man. He's got every single one of them. Remember that one episode where it was on Halloween? They kept sticking him with all the injections. I think he's not quite as funny as Cleveland, to be honest. I feel like maybe he could go there, but I feel like he deserves right about here. He's definitely more interesting than Cleveland, and we've had more character development. Yeah, I think I'd put Quagmire above Cleveland, actually. Ed's really close, though. Like, these three guys right here, super close. You don't even know, like, how close they are. Next up, we got the Evil Monkey, and, you know, some of you are probably gonna, like, be like, what? Your tier list makes no sense for this, but I'm gonna put him right here below Jillian. I think he's a haha/alright character. Bonnie is not quite as interesting as the Evil Monkey, in my opinion. Simple as that. The Evil Monkey, we even had a whole episode dedicated to the Evil Monkey with Chris Griffin. You could argue that episode was more geared towards Chris Griffin and not the Evil Monkey, but the Evil Monkey was a main character in that episode where he was moving out. So I think he's going in haha/alright, but maybe we could put him above Jillian, actually. I think we could put him above Jillian. Next up is Sheamus, and wow, this is a really tough one for sure, because I don't know about Sheamus, you know? Sometimes he's pretty funny, other times he's kind of like meh/unimportant. Sometimes he's funny, sometimes he's kind of like meh with his jokes. I don't know, I feel like he's kind of like Mort Goldman, you know? He's kind of like in that mid-tier of the average tier sort of range. I feel like maybe he could go right about here, and yeah, that's a fair spot for him, I think. Next up, we have Stewie Griffin, and to be completely honest with you guys, I think Stewie carries the show more than Peter. Like, flat out, Stewie's definitely the best character in the show. Maybe it's a little biased of me saying that because my whole family likes Stewie the most. I mean, who doesn't like Stewie the most? Like, tell me you like Lois the most in the show, or tell me you like Peter the most in the show. You either like Brian or Stewie the most in the show, I'm pretty sure. Like, probably 95% of y'all. I personally think Stewie is definitely the funniest character in the show. He's a baby, it's simple as that, you know? Seth MacFarlane knew what he was doing when he created Stewie. The original Stewie was hilarious, the newer Stewie's pretty funny. You know, he's just always been a good character. Stewie is the main driving force behind the sci-fi part of the show, and just think back to how many, like, time travel episodes we've had, how many, like, scientific episodes we've had. It's all because of Stewie. I think he really carries the show. I feel like he's the mastermind behind some more of the more important/funny or memorable episodes. And we've had a lot of character development with Stewie. I mean, he's probably come the longest way, to be honest with you guys, out of anybody. He went from super evil as a baby to more of a funnier, homosexual, scientific baby, you know? I don't know. He's definitely carrying the show the most, though, in my opinion. The show just simply would not be the same without Stewie, or Peter, or Brian. Next up, we have Tom Tucker, and to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan. Sometimes he's a good character, and we did have one or two episodes where he was the main character. We had that episode where he went out to Hollywood with Peter, and then Peter dumped him for James Woods. I feel like Tom Tucker is just another one of those, you know, he's like in the haha/alright category. If I were to put him anywhere, I would probably put him probably above Dr. Hartman. No, Dr. Hartman's funnier. I think I put him right above Chris, though. Tom Tucker serves an important purpose. You know, he's the news anchor, and Seth MacFarlane does a fantastic job of dealing with his ego and portraying that news anchor ego. I really like it. So he's definitely in the haha/alright category. Next up, we have Miss Trisha Takanawa, who is just another monotone character. If you guys haven't told by now, I'm a big fan of the monotone characters. I feel like she's probably right about here, below Consuela, but before the Evil Monkey. She's a pretty decently important character at some points. We've never really had any character development with her at all. but she is sort of funny, you know? And last but not least, we got Vinny, the dog that replaced Brian for a few episodes. And, you know, this is a really tough one. This is definitely a really tough one. Do I put him in haha / alright? Do I put him in meh / unimportant because he was only there for, what, 3 episodes? Do I put him up here in funny / important because he served an important purpose? He helped Stewie realize he had to go get Brian. I feel like Vinny honestly deserves haha / alright. It's just another one of those characters that was just there for a while. Maybe I would even put him here. Actually, yeah, to be honest, Vinny was a meh / unimportant character. And, you know, I hate to say it, it's, you know, it's biased because I only saw him for 3 episodes, but he was just kind of meh overall, you know. He was a funny Italian, you know, we got a really good Italian personality for the first time in the show. Maybe not the first time, but I feel like he was the main Italian personality that came in the show first. Anyways, he's just kind of a meh character. Overall, pretty decent character, honestly, but just not quite as interesting as some of these other characters or as funny. And some of you are probably like, well, the evil monkey was only just there randomly and he only had 1 episode, and Jillian was only with Brian for a few episodes. I hear you. I know what you're saying. You know, I understand my tier list is a little bit inconsistent with all the discrepancies here and there. But the thing about Vinny is that the evil monkey had more character development and was always funnier. The thing about the evil monkey is the evil monkey was always funny. Vinny was sort of always funny, kinda, not quite though. Jillian, very important character to Brian. You know, I still remember Jillian's episodes and stuff like that. You know, I remember her going to the mansion as well with everybody else, with Derek, who held up the Hollywood sign. But the thing about Vinny is the only thing he ever really did in the show was help Stewie realize that he needed to get Brian back. And we're never going to see him again. We can still see Jillian again, you know? You never know what's going to happen with the show, but we're never going to see Vinny again, I'm pretty sure. And for that reason, I feel like he's in meh / unimportant. We're probably never going to see the evil monkey again, and again, I apologize for the discrepancies. I just feel like he's kind of a meh character. That's, you know, maybe that's a little biased, but he's just meh. If you guys enjoyed this tier list, be sure to subscribe, because every Tuesday it is Tier List Tuesday, and I will be doing one of these tier lists every single Tuesday. And if you want to see me do a certain tier list, just let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to try and get to it when I can. Once again, every Tuesday we drop one of these, and if you guys want to see more of this, please leave a like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and I appreciate every single one of you watching this. And if you've made it this far, have a great day.